Prior to It's About Time, I was a child actor, had been in Hollywood for quite some time, and I started by doing a couple of low-budget films that ended up, getting me known by casting directors around town. And actually, I had been under contract to Universal Studios and had done 2 feature films for them. I starred in And Now Miguel for Robert Radnitz at Universal, and one of my favorite films was Let's Kill Uncle, which I also starred in with Mary Badham at Universal Studios. And after Let's Kill Uncle, we did the pilot for It's About Time, and the show was sold. And basically, I just went on an interview. I met Sherwood. Right there at the interview, he said, "Okay, this is good. You're the one I want." And I thought, hey, cavemen, caves, this ought to be fun. So I was looking forward to doing it. Wow, when I first walked on the set of It's About Time, I was amazed. I'd had a shot at doing another space TV series. It wasn't available at the time, Lost in Space. But when I got to see all the caves and the spaceship that they had built, I just thought it was amazing. And we had all the makeup tables behind the caves. You could go inside the caves and there'd be cave walls. I mean, you could get lost on the set. It was so big. It was really a wonderful thing. And I don't think many TV series had spent that much money on such wonderful sets in the past, and such different sets, as a matter of fact. It was a great place to be working. I was a big fan of Joey Ross's. I knew him from Car 54, his ooh ooh, he was so funny. So I had been looking forward to working with Joey. Imogene Coca she was just a darling. She was like having a mom there. As a matter of fact, many times when I came in the stage, I would run to her and say hi. She'd give me a big hug, and it was just really nice. She'd sit down and talk to me in between my school breaks. We had a wonderful time together. Something that happened quite often was that we'd be getting ready to do a scene, the 3 of us. We'd be just off stage, outside the cave door, getting ready for the scene. And my way of getting ready was, I already knew my line, so I'd just be fidgety. Joey would look at me and he'd go, "Pat, be quiet. Be quiet. I'm trying to concentrate on my lines. Can't you just hold still for a minute?" And then Imogene would put her arm around me and she'd say, "Joey, leave the boy alone. This is the way he gets ready. You have to let him get ready the way he wants to. Don't you yell at him. He's a good boy." Sometimes I felt like I was 5 years old. My relationship with Mary Grace was great. She was just like a big sister, having a big sister, a beautiful big sister. From time to time, she'd actually buy me these gifts. One of the gifts that she bought me was a little black box where a hand slips out. If you put a coin in it, on the side, it would sit up at the top, and then a hand would come out automatically and grab the coin back in. But for her, it wasn't just good enough, so she had the hand redone in gold, and she had a gold chain put across it so that when it opened up and closed, the gold chain would open and close again. But she was like that. She would bring me little gifts now and then. I loved working with her. Now, Mike Mazurki, he was a great guy. He was a big guy. Apparently, he and my dad had a brush with meeting each other in the Navy years before, back during World War II. And as time went on, we ended up going to a lot of the USC football games together with Mike and his wife Jeanette, and with Cliff Norton. Cliff used to come to those games also. We had a great time. And the other cavemen were great. I got to know the cave stuntmen really well. They pretty much became part of our family. My dad got to know them really well. So we had a great time. Frank and Jack. Jack was a really great guy, and I got along with him really well. And there were other things about working on that particular set that were exciting, because at the same time that we were shooting It's About Time, they were also shooting Gilligan's Island. So I was allowed to go over to that set and hang out, and I got to meet Gilligan, and I got to meet the skipper, and Don Wells and I became friends. But in addition to that, there were other shows on the lot. Every once in a while, the Monkees would come over and shoot scenes from their show, which was actually on another lot, but they would use our back lot. And so I'd go and hang out there, and I got to know Mike Nesmith and Mickey Dolenz. Also, Combat was shooting on our lot. And so there were a lot of times when the assistant director would say, "Pat, you can go back to school now. We're done with you for the afternoon." And somehow I would sneak past the schoolhouse, and I'd end up on one of these other sound stages. And I'd be watching Ross Martin acting in the Wild Wild West TV show. Now, before there was a feature film of the Wild Wild West, there was a TV series. Look for it. It's a great show. It's a great show. And I had a wonderful time hanging out on their set because they had a lot of great Western material there. Everybody was dressed in costumes. Also, I could go, like I said before, at the combat set. However, at the combat set, they knew if a boy in a cave suit comes walking in, call us immediately. So I would have to kind of hide in the bushes and watch them doing the war scenes. It was great because there was hand grenades and guns and just everything a 12-year-old boy could want. Another show that was on the lot was The Big Valley. I mean, they had all the horses. I loved doing Westerns. I loved being around Westerns. I was on Gunsmoke and Rawhide when I was a kid. And so having the Big Valley there was really exciting for me because they had all the horses and everything. But most importantly, they had Linda Evans. I was absolutely in love with her. And one time, I went to lunch with the girl who played my sister, Malore. That was Robin Grace, or actually her real name was Mary Grace. Linda Evans, and Dawn Wells. I mean, a 12-year-old boy having lunch with those three ladies? Impossible, just impossible. I mean, I loved it. When I first heard that we were taking a break in production, I was a little suspicious. I wasn't sure what exactly that meant. It just seemed odd that we had these other scripts planned already and we weren't going right back to it. And about a week later, we got a call and said, we're changing the plot of the show. Well, my dad kind of let me know that there was a chance that we were going to be canceled if they didn't make some changes in the show. And unfortunately, when they made those changes, we lost two of the key actors, Mike Mazurki and Cliff Norton. I literally tried to talk the company into bringing them back in as a general and a lieutenant who were not too fond of the cave people and the astronauts who brought them back from wherever they had been. But apparently they had everything set up already. They'd already sold the show the way it was, and we became 20th century hipsters. We had a Monday through Friday schedule on our show. Monday, we got the script and we had a rehearsal. Tuesday, there was a set check, which I didn't have to be there for, but because of school, I was there. My teacher was on the lot. I had to get at least 4 hours of schooling in no matter what. And if it was up to Eleanor, my teacher, I would have gotten 6 hours of schooling in because she grabbed me every chance she could get that I wasn't running around on somebody else's set in the studio. Then Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, we actually shot the episode. And then we had the weekend off. Except I had to do homework on the weekend, which I usually didn't get in. But it was a good schedule. It was easy. I was never on the lot for more than 10 hours at a time, generally about 8 hours. I was home for dinner every night. It's About Time was made at a time when we used to do 26 episodes of a show. None of this 6 or 8 or 10 episodes. We did 26 full half hours. And it was great to be a part of that. Both Mary and I in our contracts were stipulated that we only did 24. So we were out on 2 of the shows each. I'm not sure if that was to save money or to save them in case they needed to write plots that didn't involve us, which they did. I enjoyed being on the show, but I was used to being the featured character in other episodes that I did. I even did an episode with Kurt Russell. Kurt and I did an episode of The Fugitive together, and I was sort of the featured player in that episode, which was kind of interesting. And Kurt had already been a star of a TV series, so, but I was impressed with him very much. Great actor and a great guy, Kurt. In this show, I didn't have too much to do. In fact, I was kind of worried about the aspect that I would be doing comedy, and in the end, I wasn't really doing comedy. I was a straight man for all the other actors, so Joey always had the fall down lines, and I just sort of led into that. And also because of the language, you couldn't really do much with ooh, ah, you know, here come Breer, and you know, the dialogue was just insane. I was always trying to do something more with it, and they were always saying, cut, Pat, could you stick to the script, please? And I'd be like, yeah, okay. I even went up and talked to Sherwood about it a couple of times, and he said, okay, we'll do a better job. When the plot of the show changed, there are a number of things, you know, in addition to losing Mike and Cliff. We lost all the cave sets. We lost all the aspect of having dinosaurs, the cavemen with all the cave clubs. We lost a lot of things that made the show fun. I was getting more and more bored with being on the set. I was missing the fact that I wasn't in school with my friends. This is sort of where all the nice stuff had kind of worn off. You know, the glamour had worn off doing the show, and I didn't want to be there anymore. And so one day I went up to Sherwood's office and I said, Sherwood, I said, I'm really bored with the show. I want to get back to my friends. Can you get somebody else to play Breer or write him out of the show? And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, you got to be kidding. And I said, no. I said, I'm not happy doing this anymore. And I want to go home. I'm tired. And he said, Patrick, he goes, there must be something else bothering you. Is there something that we can do to make this better? And I said, yeah, well, I don't know. He goes, well, anything. What can we do? What would you like? Is there something I can get you? And so being a precocious kid, I said, well, yeah, I'd like a beer. And he said, okay, I can do that. And what else? Anything else? I said, yeah, how about a pack of cigarettes? And he said, I can do that for you, Pat, don't worry. And so he ushered me out of the room and sent an assistant up to take me back to the stage and said, I got to take care of a couple of things for Pat here. You get him back to the stage and make sure he's comfortable. And then I got a call and he said, Pat, he goes, when you go to your dressing room, he goes, I've hidden a couple of things in there for you. Make sure your dad's not there or the teacher. So I said, okay. I couldn't wait to get back to the dressing room. A beer and some smokes. And I go back in the dressing room. I don't see anything right away, but I look in the refrigerator and there in the back, there was a can of beer. And I pulled it out and it said Near Beer. Now back in the 60s, they had this product that tasted just like beer. In fact, it was beer, but it was beer without the alcohol in it. And I thought, well, this is good. This is good enough. This will do. I'm fine with this. And then I looked underneath the bed in the room, the day bed that was in my dressing room, and there it was, a pack of Chesterfield candy cigarettes. I'd been taken care of. I had to laugh, and I lasted till the end of the season. One of the neat things about doing a TV series is that all the local cities that have their 4th of July parades and their Christmas parades ask you to be in the parades. And that's a place where as an actor and as a performer, you get to actually meet the fans. You know, in theater, you can actually see the fans. They're right there in the audience, and they'll talk to you afterwards. You get direct feedback. But as an actor in TV, you don't get direct feedback, and there's no better feedback than being in a parade and having all these kids run up to you and ask for your autograph, or they just want to shake hands with you. And I had candy that I could give them from the car. That was really a lot of fun. Another thing that I did was I was able to be a part of the Foundation of the Junior Blind Christmas show, which was a couple of day event where they bring all the children that are blind children that are members of the Foundation of the Junior Blind out to an auditorium, and they get to see Santa Claus, and this is the way they see them. So I was able to be there and help them see Santa Claus and the elves and the reindeer. And then I also got up and I would do a poem. I recreated the night before Christmas to make it funny. And so the kids knew about It's About Time. They watched it on TV, as they said, which amazed me that they said that. Yeah, we watch it all the time. And I thought, boy, blind kids watch TV. And also I went out there on Valentine's Day because I made them a full-scale Valentine heart that was as big as me, and I wrote Happy Valentine's Day in Braille with Necco wafers on it. I already had a little bit of fame with Now Miguel and Let's Kill Uncle, which came out during the same period of time. So I was always being recognized on the street as one of those characters. And It's About Time made it just even worse. Well, I shouldn't say worse, it was actually better, because whenever people recognized me, I really felt flattered, and I was always glad to say hello. Fans also got in contact with me through the mail. You know, we got a lot of fan mail on the show. When they brought my fan mail, it came out in bags. We had bags and bags of fan mail for Breer. Because the people who write, generally, the fans that write, are children. You know, people who watch the show were kids, and so they would write letters and always ask for autographs and pictures, and we'd send those things out to them. It was a lot of fun. Sherwood and I met actually the day the show was canceled. Unfortunately for Sherwood, the show was canceled, but also Gilligan's Island was canceled at the same time. So he actually told me in person, which was a wonderful thing. And a telling story about Sherwood too was I was going to Hollywood High at the time with his son Ross. And his son Ross was the star of a play that was playing that afternoon, and I actually was in front of the house, meaning that I was ushering in people into the show. And the first person that showed up was Sherwood. And this had to be maybe an hour after he found out both of his shows were canceled. He found out his shows were canceled, but he still showed up for his son's play. I mean, that's dedication to the family for sure. And I was mildly disappointed because it was like a thing that I had in my hand that was going away. But really, I was ready to move on and get more dramatic roles and do more episodic shows and do more of a variation of things. Also, when I did episodic shows in movies, I actually got to spend more time in school with my friends. So that made me happy. When I think back about It's About Time now, I loved the fact that I have that in my background. It's probably the star feature of what people remember, because my films and episodic shows and that have long, faded into dust in the film vault somewhere. Although some of them are showing up now on Antenna TV and some other places. I still get mail for It's About Time, email. I've made a lot of friends on Facebook. Feel free to friend me on Facebook. People have heard me talk on Stu Shostak's internet radio show. Great show if you want to hear, lots of great old actors and stars from the early television years talking on his show. I really enjoyed being on that and telling a lot of these stories. So you could probably find me in the archives there, giving you even more information about It's About Time and the other elements of my career. I made a lot of great friends that throughout the years we would bump into each other either on other sound stages or working in the same studio lot, sometimes at restaurants. My dad stayed friends with most of the cast, as he did with most of the cast members of other shows that I was in. So I did get to see these people throughout their lives. But anyway, I'm really grateful that I got a chance to be on this DV and talk to you folks and let you know what it was like being a child actor on It's About Time. Enjoy the DVD. Enjoy the shows.